remotely. But we have Rosie, we have Ben, and we have Lee in person here, as well as myself. So first, we'll do the board and committee openings. So we have Affordable Housing Trust, 1 opening. The Conservation Commission, 2 openings. The Community Preservation Committee, 2 openings. 1 opening for a member of Historic District Commission, and 1 opening for an at-large member. We have the Hamilton Environmental Impact Committee, 1 opening. We have the Historic District Commission, 2 openings for 3-year terms, 2 openings for 2-year terms. 1 must be a resident of the Historic District, and 1 must be a resident realtor. And then we have Human Rights Commission, 1 at-large opening. So at this time, we will open it up for public comment. We will take a maximum of 30 minutes for something that is not already on the agenda, and each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. So we can start with anyone in the room that wishes to make a public comment. Just head up to the microphone and give us your name and address.
Okay, Robin Davis, 57 Lois Street. So thank you for this opportunity to address the board. I have a simple suggestion I'd like to offer that could make Weaver Pond at Patton Park more accessible, user-friendly, and help to promote community and not involve a whole lot of work. So at present, if a young mom or a senior citizen or anybody for that matter wants to enjoy Weaver Pond, you all know what I'm talking about, right? We don't toss the word Weaver Pond around that much, but if we want to enjoy Weaver Pond and that part of the park, there simply is no place to sit. Now, there are 2 picnic tables over by the pool that the kids use in the summer for the park program. But there's nothing for somebody just to go and sit by the pond. The shady area is, the kids' tables are in the sun, but the other part is the shady area. So here's my suggestion. There are 4 beautiful picnic tables at Cutler Park. Now, do you all know what Cutler Park is? Okay. So that's right across from the Hamilton Post Office. They were made by Eagle Scout for his Eagle Scout project some years ago. And the idea at the time was to promote the use of that park. Now, I have never seen anybody at those picnic tables. So since they're already in existence, they're nice, they're probably pressure-treated wood, what if we left 1 or 2 tables at Cutler Park and moved 2, possibly 3 of those tables over to Weaver Pond in the shade? And then instantly, we would have a place for people to sit. Now, I was just down at the pond this afternoon thinking about this opportunity to speak to you folks, and I saw one mother going to the pond and another leaving the pond, and I thought, where are you going to sit, Mom? You probably don't have any place to sit. So it would be such a simple fix. And we wouldn't have to buy anything. All it would involve is some of our hardworking DPW men, and if they can't do it, I could round up some of my neighbors, right? And we could do it. So anyway, I know you don't have to speak back to me, but maybe you can suggest what I could do with this idea next.
Thank you, Robin. Great.
That's all I say?
Yeah, appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Seeing no one. Anyone online?
Tim Olson's here from the DPW.
Yep, I'm here. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, Tim. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, sorry. Yeah, so I'm here real quick. We just got word from the state a few days ago that they increased their drought conditions to level 2. Currently, we're at a level 1, and we were just underneath our seasonal restrictions. The level 2 is in categorized by DEP as a significant drought, and we are mandated to follow the drought management plan as instituted by Mass DEP. Level 2 requires us to ban all mechanical watering throughout the day and allowing handheld watering from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So what we currently have is mechanical watering from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. We need to increase that to no mechanical watering and just handheld between those timeframes. Looking into it, there is, the way DEP has put this together is through our withdrawal registration. So it doesn't have anything to do with our permit, doesn't have anything to do with our current local bylaw. It is a mandatory thing that, mandatory restriction that DEP is requiring all towns and cities within our general region to adhere to. So I'm just bringing that up to the select board tonight. I did talk to Joe about it this afternoon. He wanted me to come in before you to explain, but it looks like we have to increase restrictions. Happy to do so, put the notice out tomorrow and put a message on the signboard. But we are having to follow DEP's guidance and the regulations set forth in the drought management plan.
I have a question, Tim. Who is it that ends up enforcing those rules?
So right now, it used to be the select board would vote on them as acting as water commissioners. That is currently how we made these or increased these restrictions because DEP has embedded them in our water restriction or withdrawal, our registration. There actually is no need to vote on it. You can take action, I guess voting to adhere to the Mass DEP drought management plan restrictions, but actually it basically trumps all local boards, towns and cities, ordinances, local bylaws, because it's a state issued permit restriction.
Okay, thank
or
you.
a withdrawal restriction.
But what I was interested in more was violations of that. Who enforces or?
The violations would come to me, just with, I do send out letters if there are mechanical watering going on. I do send a letter out. My first letter is a kind of a heads up, hey, we're underneath this. Some people just don't realize that. And so it's more of a courtesy letter that I send out. If it's a continued violation, that's when I do have the authority, I believe, as a DPW director, to cite somebody for, a violation. I have not ever had to do that because I think people realize that, oh, I'm sorry, they apologize and they terminate or have their landscape company come in there and terminate the use of their system. But it is actually falls in the DPW realm of citations and oversight.
Okay, and is that usually like a neighbor that reports them or someone driving by?
Yeah, it could be a neighbor, it could be just driving by, it could be police, it could be my staff, it could be water staff, just somebody that knows that there's a restriction in place and concerned with the use and just provides me a heads up just to educate the residents.
Tim, I just had a question. I mean, we're still early in the year here, and it's May. Is this pretty significant for this time of year? Have we seen this previously, or I feel like we usually get this later in the summer when it gets to this point.
Yeah. So that it's kind of changed this year. Typically, before this got embedded into our registration, we would go off of our permit. We have a permit as well, and that has some restrictions in it, but it also our local bylaw. So not to really kind of get in the weeds on this, but we used to have, the select board would I'd come in front of you, the select board would make a vote. I would look at the river levels, And we have certain triggers that if it's over or underneath a certain discharge cubic feet per second for 3 consecutive days, I would watch it and then I would say, hey, we haven't gotten any rain. I think we need to increase the restrictions. That's typically how I did it over the last few years. This is new. This drought management plan that the DEP has put together and embedded in our withdrawal registration is new to all communities. Even communities that didn't even have a permit, that had all those restrictions in it and only had a withdrawal registration. This drought management plan it actually was just voted on, actually. I think there was an appeal going on, and I think they voted in DEP's favor. They have the authority to include that in our registration and enforce it as well, for us to implement it as a community. So it's a little different than it's been, but it kind of actually works better because Wenham and us are so close that we're all basically on the same plane now. So somebody that sees watering in Wenham and Hamilton has a different restriction. Because Wenham does not have a permit. So we would sometimes have restrictions that Wenham wouldn't have. So now everybody's on the same playing field. So it's just more community-wide, regional-wide, but it's also enforced now by the DEP.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
So I have a question, Tim. It looks like that these restrictions are based upon region and not necessarily, say, Hamilton gets an inch of water, but Amesbury doesn't. Everybody has to adhere to these restrictions. Do I understand that correctly? Or are they going to monitor each town individually?
So right now it's like the Northeast region. So there was I can share with you, there was a DEP notice that went out that I got in an email today. Kind of explains where we are with the level 2 significant drought. It shows a map of the regions that are within the level 2, and there are some still within the level 1. But it has a lot of narrative as well as some links to the drought management plan. Happy to share that with you, but it is a regional look now instead of an individual town, city focus.
Right. Well, that's what I'm looking at, and I'm just
Tim,
unsure about how I feel about this.
Tim, does it affect private wells that are within our watershed, or is it just for the
There's a section
public
on
water
wells, I
services?
think, on
Yeah.
the 4th page.
Get far enough?
On page 4, they have,
Yeah, there's specifics to the very last page.
Oh, private wells, thank you.
Oh,
Yep.
golf
Yep.
courses, I'm sorry.
Households, businesses, private wells should conserve water by abiding by
Right.
the law.
Now some businesses and some other, like for Myopia, for example, they have their own registration. So it does, and they're a golf course. There are obviously some arrangements, I'm sure, that they've made, just like other golf courses in the area. They have, they're not governed by the same permit or registration that Hamilton has. They have their own. So I know that's been brought up several times. People ask me about Myopia. They are kind of an independent entity within Hamilton.
And Tim, is there any effort to quantify those restrictions and whether towns are abiding by those in any way, shape, or form? I mean, presumably the town keeps track of how much water we're extracting. Does that,
Yep.
do these actually do?
I don't know how DEP looks at this. I know it's been a conversation at several of our local kind of water meetings. Hamilton, I look specifically at that. We do see a great, when we see decrease in irrigation use, we do see a decrease in our finished water and our pumpage at the plant. Irrigation use is a lot. It's kind of an unknown, or people don't really understand, I guess, how much water is being used by those systems. So I do work with some people. If they have a lawn, they just planted a new lawn, and then all of a sudden now I'm these restrictions are in place and they spent, $20,000 on a new lawn. I'll ask them, they'll call me, we'll work out a schedule for them to kind of try to specifically zone off that area, water at night, just to try to work with them. But if you have a lush green lawn, that's where we would look at educating the public. That a brown lawn is not a dead lawn. It's just dormant. I do look at it individually, but most of the time, if it's a lush green lawn, we'll send a letter out saying, hey, there's a restriction in place. Please make arrangements to terminate use at this time. So.
Well, Tim, I moved to a clover seed lawn, which stays green longer, so don't be.
That's the way to go.
I've been thinking about that.
Weeds and clovers have purposes. They're green as well. So, yeah, no, it's something that I think from this point forward, because of the way DEP has implemented this into a registration, we don't really have any choice to not abide by it. So I don't mind coming in front of you and letting Joe know if levels increase, decrease, pushing the message out through social media, through the message board. It could, not saying it will, but it could go back and forth for a period of time, which, it's something that, coming in front and of you, I don't mind it. I just know that it could change. It could decrease again if we get a significant rain in June. So.
Great. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Thanks, Tim.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that wanted to make a public comment?
Does not appear so.
Not seeing any hand raised. Okay. We'll move on. So next is Select Board Committee Liaison Report. So I know we just got our liaison assignments last meeting. We may not have had a chance to connect with everyone, but if you have any updates, we'll go down the line. So Rosie, if you wanted to give any updates.
Yeah, I had a few things I wanted to talk about. I visited the tree nursery up in New Hampshire, where we have some leftover ARPA money on deposit to provide trees, and they gave me some wonderful suggestions for trees. And it looks like with our budget, we would be able to have 25 to 30 trees. I've also spoken to Pete, the Assistant DPW Director, and he has said that the town has adequate vehicles to go and pick them up. And so places so far that have been designated as good locations, positive locations are the schools. I have spoken to the facilities manager up at the high school, and they were interested in some trees up there. Patton Park, with the renovation, I think that would be a good use of some of the trees. Certainly Town Hall, that had trees removed for the renovation, and to rededicate trees to World War II soldiers whose families donated a tree and were old and diseased and needed to be removed. And then finally, residents, certainly not least, and residents. So that's one project, and that involves many entities. And regards to the art exhibition project at the town hall reopening, I've been to the high school and have seen some of the amazing artwork from the high school students, and the art director there has offered to help with this program, as have the Friends of the Arts, and the COA board is going to reach out to senior artists in the area. Tim Olson gave me a breathtaking tour of the new memorial room, and it looks like there's lots of available space there, so we can accept lots of artwork and encourage people and students, high school students, to send in their art. It can be old art or new art. And then finally, this is this is for you, Ben. The Hamilton Historical Society reached out to me and were asking me if I am the selectman who is helping them, and I said I wasn't. You were the person, but I said I would talk to you, and maybe we could trade library trustee for the Historical Society. Oh, great. If that worked for you?
That's fine by me.
Okay, so Mimi, I'll be calling you tomorrow. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Rosie.
Okay.
Can I, the tree thing is amazing. That's really awesome. That's pretty exciting stuff. On the Patton Park thing, would that go through the Parks Department so that they made sure that the placement of the trees didn't interfere with any of the upgrades that were gonna be happening?
Yeah, they would
yeah.
track, it would track between the DPW Assistant Director Pete Cobb. That's why Rosie was talking about Pete, and also with, in line with the locations identified in the Patton Park Master Plan, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thank
Ben, any updates from you?
Not at this time. I still need to actually get connected. I missed the FinCom one last week, unfortunately, but I'm gonna be there next week.
Lee, anything from you?
No, I've reached out to all of them, sent emails, and I've heard back from them about when their meetings are, but there's not been any meetings yet.
Wednesday at 5?
Huh?
Wednesday at 5? Human Rights Commission.
Oh, yes, I have that on my calendar, thanks.
Yeah. I'll just, quick update, I did connect with Sue McLaughlin on the Tobacco Woods Land Management Committee, so she is gonna be seeking another term of 3 years, which is great. She didn't note that they have an active committee now, then they're working with Gordon College on some trail work. And then she also noted that with Greenbelt purchasing the Rich property, they're now working on a trail map for that, so all really exciting stuff, so, good. Glad that committee is active, so that's all I have.
And I'm sorry, I forgot, I was so excited about the trees and the art exhibit, I forgot about the ZBA. So just to bring everyone up to date, there was a proposal for non-conforming use at 957 Bay Road, and the ZBA ultimately decided that it was more
Substantially more detrimental than the current pre-existing non-conforming.
Right. So it is, this is just my comment, it is my hope that the owner of the property comes back with perhaps a plan that will serve to improve the area while also meeting the needs of the surrounding neighborhood.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. So under that, we have the approve the minutes of April 6, 2026 select board meeting, and then also accepting a donation gift in the amount of $125 to the Hamilton Council on Aging from Robert Bonazzoli. Do I have a motion, or if anyone wants to separate either of those out, we can do that as well. Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
So moved?
Is there a second?
And could we hold, I mean, well, actually, I'll second it with a caveat, just to kind of expand a little bit on the donation, so we recognize that, but second.
All right, well, we have a motion made and seconded, so we can open it up for, you wanted to discuss?
Well, yeah, just always like to kind of spend a little time to thank those people who, generously dip into their savings accounts to make these donations, small and large. It's incredibly important for the community, and just, so want to say a special thank you to Robert, and I'm sure that the Council on Aging really appreciates it.
Yeah, very generous, great gift, and can be spent at the discretion of the COA for programs and services, so it's really great.
Yeah, thank you. I second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, we'll dig into the agenda. So first item, we have the appointment of Amy Wallach to the Hamilton Development Corporation. I don't know if we have Amy on. Joe, is she on the Zoom?
No, I'm surprised she isn't. I can reach out, you can hold the appointment to the next meeting, and I know that she was, I believe that we have the letter from the board chair that she met with the Hamilton Development Corporation at their last meeting and was recommended for unanimously by the board to be appointed. Generally, you guys have the right to ask somebody to be here before the appointment, but you can also choose to not require it, so it's up to you.
A quick question. I thought somewhere that I read that the moderator makes that appointment? No?
Not in the HDC.
So she
FinCom
came,
appointments, not to the HDC.
so the Hamilton Development Corp. Recommended her? Is
Yes.
that- Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I mean, if the Hamilton Development Corporation made a favorable recommendation, you know, I had her resume, I mean, I think she's definitely has qualifications, and, you know, working in real estate as a broker, a lot of different leadership positions in town, especially working at the community house. I mean, I'm fine moving forward with a vote if, unless the others wanna wait and see and have her come in and speak.
Yeah.
Did we get a letter, Joe, sorry, from the HDC?
Was the email not in, there wasn't a hard copy of the email in your?
Just
See
the resume?
Application, and then the resume.
I didn't see, normally I know they submit a letter of approval, or they probably emailed you, but
But I thought I had printed it out and included it in the packet. I knew I had,
sometimes I'm looking
Mine
at
too.
old packets, it's kind of my thing, so.
it's not here. I don't know why it isn't here. I apologize, that's my fault. We'll just, I know that Rick Mitchell had sent an email. My plan was to include it in the packet. I remember printing it out. I don't know why it didn't make it into the packet. I apologize.
All right, in that case, do we want to hold this and wait till next meeting, and we can get the email, we can get
Yep.
Amy on board?
When is our next meeting is June?
June 1st.
June 1st?
I will say that I did send a note to the chair earlier today. As of right now, we don't have any other business that the board needs to take up for June 1st. Since you're gonna have a meeting on the 15th, and then you're gonna have the workshop on the 29th, I asked the chair if he wanted to consider, haven't heard back from him, I don't know, but I will put it up that he may want to consider not having a meeting on the 1st because this,
I know that there was a, I don't know what to call it, but a grant made to HDC as well, right? Or that they were dispersing some funds for some projects upcoming.
For the park, the pocket park, is that what you mean?
I wanna say it was a couple $100,000.
Yeah, that's pocket park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I don't wanna hold up their work either if we're.
Yeah, I mean, if we're potentially pushing out the June 1st meeting, you know, we're pushing this out potentially a month.
They meet on the 3rd,
Yeah.
which would definitely be.
Yeah. You know, the only thought, I agree with what everybody is saying. My only thought is maybe in the future, we could be more diligent about asking people to be here, just in case we do have
Yeah, I
any
mean, I think it's always
questions.
nice just to get, you know,
Yeah.
meet them and kind of, you know,
Yeah.
hear a little bit about their background. I mean, we do have a resume, we do have the,
so that's the email from Rick. I apologize. I can't pull it up on this laptop, but it's right there. You can read it out. If you want, I'll read it out loud.
want me to read it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It just says, "Hi, Joe. As noted in Scott Modern's HDC resignation letter and earlier email, we would like to request the SB approve appointment of Amy Wallach to replace Scott. The HDC board voted unanimously on Wednesday, May 6th, to support her joining the board. Attaches her application and resume. If you have any questions or additional information, please let me know." Yeah, I mean, I think, you know,
Yeah.
she got the full
That's nice.
unanimous support of the HDC. We have a resume, and if we're pushing this off a month, and they're gonna be meeting on June 3rd, I think it makes sense to get Amy on board as soon as possible to start working, so.
Yep.
I'm comfortable moving forward and, you know, happy to entertain a vote, a motion.
Sure, I move that we appoint Amy Wallach to the HDC.
Is there a
Second?
All right. Vote, we have a motion and it's seconded.
Great, one last thing I wanna.
Any
just
discussion?
sort of- Yeah, or discussion, agree with Rosie that I do think, you know, if we can have someone, a representative of that committee, ideally, you know, the person who's being nominated, I think it is important, that we get to meet them. I mean, ideally, they come in person too, if we're all here, it'd just be nice.
Right.
Caveat.
Yeah, I think it's a good protocol, and, you know, I mean, it's always nice to put a name to a face, so,
I think we had discussed that in the past as well, which is why, because people were being appointed without us having an opportunity to put a face to a name, and so we had decided that, yes, we would like to see that happen. So this is just a reiteration of that, so.
Yeah, yeah.
But I understand, certainly we understand in this case that we don't want to put it out for a month, yeah.
Joe, is that something for the committee chairs that you could just
Yep.
send out a blast and let them know that that's sort of our,
And it might be a miscommunication on our end too. I got the email from Rick. I printed out the email, intended to include it in the packet. I may not have told him, hey, it's gonna be on the agenda. Once we posted the agenda, I normally, like Lori would check up on that for me, but she's been,
So
a lot more part-time, so, I'm operating without my right hand a little bit, so. We have hired a new right hand, permanent right hand to start on June 8th, but it's very possible that I missed that, so apologies.
one of the rare things, Joe, it's not a big issue.
yeah.
Any more discussion on this one? All right, we have a motion that's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, unanimous. All right, next agenda item is the approved expenditure of $3,160 from the Perpetual Care Fund to pay for annual grub treatment at the Hamilton Cemetery. Wait, is Tim still on? Is he gonna talk to this one?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh, great.
The grubs.
Yep, so this is just our annual treatment. It's been very effective over the last, I think, 4 or 5 years that we've been doing it. Just a continuation of trying to control, and create the special place that Hamilton Cemetery is with the grass and it seems like everybody in Hamilton really likes and enjoys that sacred spot. So we just try to keep it in the best shape we can. And do these treatments are necessary to get the grass and new grass to grow and thrive and fill in to make it a beautiful sacred spot.
What is the treatment?
So they use what I believe what they've been using is a Celiprin, which is a preventative grub control. Or they have been doing back and I think that's what they used last year. So
When do they apply it?
they apply it really anytime spring through fall. They definitely like to apply it in the rain. Like a light rain is the most effective.
Is it, like, it's safe to be in contact with for people, kids, et cetera?
Yep. Yeah, we've used, that's why Save a Tree is we picked them specifically because of the treatment that they recommended.
Tim, is this, I know we do this annually, and is this price about consistent, or is, with probably some modest inflation maybe, but kind of consistent with what we've been spending in the past?
Yeah, I think it's just maybe about $100 more than last year.
Okay.
I think something like that, so.
And Tim, I have to say, since we did that sort of reseeding of the cemetery maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it has looked really, really nice. I mean, it's always been well kept, but the fact that the grass died from the grubs was just really very unpleasant and very distressing to residents who went to visit the cemetery. But I have to say, it's looked beautiful since that reseeding has been done, and the DPW and the cemetery crew have taken really, really good care of that. So it's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, we got, this fall, we should be doing heavy planting. Last year, we had the drought and then a heavy winter. So didn't really have the chance to plant in the fall, and then we had a long winter and kind of a short spring in a way to try to gear up. But I think hopefully this fall we'll be doing some planting again in some of those areas that, after following this grub treatment should take pretty well with the grass and seeding, hydro seeding.
All right, that, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the expenditure of $3,160 from the Perpetual Care Fund to pay for the annual grub treatment at the Hamilton Cemetery.
Second?
All right, motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, we're blowing through this agenda now. Select Board Policy Review. So I know this is something that Bill's talked about a bunch, and just sort of getting a handle on all the different policies that we have as a board. You know, which ones do we need to, dig into and maybe review? Do we need to create any new ones? And then, identifying which ones might need to be updated. So I think this will be a time to talk about a couple of policies of what we think needs to be updated, and then maybe selecting a member or two to sort of work on some of those policies. I know Joe included in the packet two, which have been sort of, on our radar for the past year or so. One being the sign banner policy, which has come up a lot. We're often approving, requests for the Hamilton Winter Little League and other folks and sports teams putting up their signs, and I think we want to just make sure that that's airtight, that we know what we're voting on when we get those requests. And then we've also gotten a lot of requests about using government property, using the senior center, and what are the restrictions around that of when we can and we can rent that property out. So I think those are two of the policies we're looking at, but are there others that people have flagged or thought about in the past? I know, Lee, you're new to the board, so feel free to, think of, if there's something you haven't seen yet, let us know, but are there other policies that we're thinking of that might need to be tweaked a bit?
Yeah, well, I think in terms of the senior center, we should now include the town hall memorial room, because that's a beautiful big space, and with the art exhibition, hoping that other residents would want to use it for other things. And how do we do that safely, so that people aren't sort of running through the town hall? I mean, not that I think that there would necessarily be any damage, but just to sort of think about the safety of that.
Yeah, I think we had talked about, initially when this had come up, part of it was because we had lost the town hall, and
Right.
people were looking for places to hold meetings, and there was a lot of talk about what do you want to allow. And then broadly, we were thinking, well, eventually we're going to move back into town hall, and we're going to have this really large meeting space. What would that be available for? But I definitely think that at this point, we can, if the board supports a subcommittee to work with myself and town staff, we could come up with some ideas. We do have a draft policy that was put together by Tom McEnany over a year ago, and along with an accompanying license. So you approve the policy and then use the license to govern the use of the rooms. And you can have it be for the memorial room and COA, or you can eliminate COA now. I know a lot of people have wanted to be careful about overuse of the COA. It's really meant to be a safe place for seniors. That main room, or even with the two rooms now, are places for the seniors, and we didn't want to risk in the long term displacing them at all. So it's up to the board. We'd support having one or two members work with some staff to come up with, to take Tom's policy, talk around it, tear it up, redline it, and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Well, I was supposed to be part of that committee, and circumstances changed in my life, and I've been pretty out of the loop for a while. But if the board was wanting me to continue doing that, I would be happy to pick up where I left off, which was pretty much at the beginning, so.
Yeah. I mean, I know we have a policy on policies. I see this I haven't read it.
Yeah, I just printed out what shows on our website, so you'll see that we have a lot of policies already.
Yeah.
And some of them, they're
Comprehensive? This is all of them?
this is all the select board policies. There are other internal policies, departmental policies, and things that are really managed by the staff and department heads and town manager. There are other things that are in your bylaws, but these are the policies that the select board adopts and kind of enforces.
So maybe I just need to read this policy, but like, as far as the process, we would, like you said, assign a subcommittee that works with you on a particular policy, and then sort of go through a review, and then bring it back to this board to vote, okay.
The two that have been talked about a lot about the last few years are the banner and sign policy and, use of
Well, no.
town facilities.
The one I'm thinking of at the moment, which came up, was around like abandoned properties or blights or things like that. And
So it's actually a bylaw. It was actually a bylaw, it was adopted by town meeting.
All right.
So it was put forward and voted on as a general bylaw, not as a zoning bylaw. So it's
Okay.
a general bylaw under the town's, general
the
bylaws
fines were part
of that, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we have the senior, so Rosie, are you interested in taking that back up? And
Absolutely, yes. And incorporate the town hall meeting room with that and see if there's a way we can incorporate it, make it a dual policy or not. We'll just, I'm happy to explore that with you, Joe, and
Works for me,
whomever
yeah.
else.
Yep.
And just real quick for clarification, can you describe a little bit what this looks like? This process? So Rosie's just gonna look at the policy?
So we had town council draft the policy, and it will be a little bit different, right? So a lot of the policies, you'll see some of these were adopted, in 2022, and some of them were adopted way earlier. Some of them, they don't even say when they were adopted, so they don't even all look the same on the town website. A subcommittee could look and say, hey, we want to make these all look uniform going forward. It's understandable why they don't, because they happen at different times with different boards and different town managers and things. So it's understandable why they don't look uniform. If you wanted to make them look uniform, we could take that on. If you just want to look at the existing policies that you want to update, we can do that. It's really up to you. But the idea would be that we'd start with, what we've done with policy since I've been here is we try to have town council draft something that we feel will be legal and enforceable, and then let the board make changes.
So to Tom's point, and to your question, it's, the board may schedule any hearings or meetings it deems necessary for discussion. So there's this document as well. I don't know if it was meant to apply only to new policies, or no, it says, or changing existing policies. And then procedurally, if there's any of these that, someone raises their hand and says, yeah, let's take a look at that or unpack it, I imagine, Joe, as long as we're not having a quorum, like so two people could participate in any one drafting or revisions,
So-
without needing to bring it back here.
Yeah, we would still advertise that, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be held at night, or you could hold it at any day or time. And we'd probably, for a public component, we'd just manage it with Zoom or something to record the conversation. A subcommittee, even if it's not a quorum, still has a kind of a requirement to, conduct its business in the open, but it doesn't mean that you have to go out of your way to, you aren't making decisions, you're working towards something that you bring back to the board. So, we do an extra level of advertising and being transparent for the public, but you would get to work on it and make recommendations on how to change it.
Okay, so the second one, so I know, Rosie, if you're interested in the senior center one, we can have you on that one. The other one was that I know Bill Olson, I don't want to steal his thunder here, but I know he loves the banner sign, the banner policy, and we talked about it several times, so.
Yeah.
The one that's in the packet that says temporary, is that separate from the regular one, or are there two of these, or are there?
The one, so the banner and sign policy that's on this list, when you click on it, that's what you get is,
Oh, okay.
so it's for temporary signs and banners.
Has this been reworked by town council at all, or is this?
No, that's just what was adopted years ago by the town.
Okay. And when was
Then
this?
the dimensional requirements, is that set by zoning? Is that in the zoning?
It's not a zoning issue, you've been setting the dimensional requirements on that, just based on what the board feels is too big or too small.
Something in writing, I remember.
There's a section in the zoning for permanent signs related to commercial districts and such, but this isn't necessarily that. You'd be voting on what kinds of banners or signs to allow to be hung on town property, and you have the
I
right.
think they have there's somewhere in one of the bylaws, I think there's something even around temporary signs.
I can look at the general bylaws and get back to you on that.
Wow.
Anyone have any interest in digging into this one?
Well, I want to steal it from Bill.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to work on it. I can talk to Bill and see if he, I know he's had a particular interest in this policy over the last year or so and beyond, and wanting to rework it, and I know we looked at it a while back. So I can coordinate with Bill to see if he wants to take it, or I can work on it. I'm happy to be a part of it.
And our public comment policy, is that on here?
We just slogged through that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm just looking for it on
see
the
it on
list, that's
here.
all, that's why. I'm
That was
asking.
new though, right?
That
Yeah,
one's,
we
no,
gotta
it should
check.
still be on the website. It doesn't look like it is right now, so we'll get it up.
Yeah.
The good news is we're doing a new website right now, so we'll,
No, that's good. I just wanted to make sure it's up on the website.
Yep.
If this is the official list. 'Cause I don't think we need to revisit it. It's in good shape.
Now, Joe, so I'm looking at some of these dates, and I'm just, some of them go back 10 years. I mean, is there any requirement that we do some sort of regular cadence of just automatic review of them, or is it fine that we have?
there's no requirement.
Okay.
If you feel that, if you or any member of the board feels that an existing policy is no longer properly serving the town, and you want to revisit it, you just have to bring it to the board and ask them to consider it.
Maybe we can dig into, I'm just looking at like leaf collection policy, 1993,
Yeah, that might be due for an update.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been no changes in our leaf collection since then, but who knows, it's, that's,
And some of that is probably at this point dictated and therefore included in the contract with our trash hauler.
yeah.
Although I would say making that assumption might be wrong, because the policy was drafted in 1993, and we brought Casella in 2017 under dire circumstances, or 2016 under dire circumstances, so maybe they didn't, maybe they just came, did with what was the practice had been without actually consulting the bylaw. I couldn't tell you for sure. That was before I got here.
Does our leaf policy, I think it works well, right?
Yeah, it's,
No, I wanna.
it seems already jumped off, but yeah, we have regular leaf pickup tied to the trash contract with Casella on a monthly cadence during the times of the year when you need it, right?
Yeah, it's just a few times a year, and I can only speak for my neighborhood, but tends to run pretty smoothly. They come when they're supposed to, and I've not heard of any difficulties with it, but I do agree with Tom that we should at least look at it, right? Because it's so.
Oh, man, it looks,
I know the typing is.
it was on a
really-
typewriter.
1993, there was internet, but there wasn't a lot of use of internet by town staff at this point, so.
Yeah. Oh, it's long, too.
Joe, I don't know if we're taking notes about who wants to look at what, but I'd be interested to look at the abatement of high water bill policy. Just, I don't know if it needs a refresh or not, but I think.
Yeah, we did that in my first term, right? It was like, I think it was like.
Yeah, you took bill policy. There was some,
2008.
the policy that's on there is from 2008, but I know the select board made some adjustments to the way
Yeah,
that
we
you
made a
were.
few changes, like in my first year, I think.
And that's not showing on the, it doesn't look like it's showing on the website right now, so.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I suggested it was because it was 2008, and I was looking at this, and I also thinking about our rates having just been restructured, just checking that the math all still makes sense and that we're.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Kinda.
I know we did, we can get you the version that we updated back a few years back, but it may need another.
I mean, we could just have, honestly, I just see this language around exceeding, their typical bill by 35,000 gallons or 100%, whichever is greater. And that it's, leaks have occurred within 6-month periods, et cetera, et cetera. It's just going back through this and seeing, is this still all applicable based on our current rates, our current ability to kind of get people notified in a timely manner, get their meters fixed in a timely manner, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause
Joe, I guess your opinion, and I don't know what we've done in the past, but does it make sense just to have a small committee that looks at we put a bunch of policies together, or should we just have one select board member sort of own a policy? I mean, what's more efficient from your office, if like just a smaller group of us to look at
To be honest, it would be a little easier for staff if there was a subcommittee of 2 people that was looking at all of them and then making recommendations to which ones we.
Yeah, I think that'd be easier
As opposed
rather
to trying to keep track of what
Like-
5 different members all wanna,
Yeah, yeah.
dig in on. It'd just be a lot more emails, a lot more opportunity for missed.
So I'll allow you to reconsider your throwing your hat in the ring if it's that, now that it's not just one policy.
Yeah,
It's-
well, just, let me know what the timeline is, and I mean, I'm always ready to dig into some project, so, what are we looking at for a timeline? Month, 2 months?
I mean, I don't think we have a hard and fast timeline.
Just an
I know
ongoing.
It's been ongoing. I mean, I know the banner policy's been going on since, I think, my first
Yeah,
term, wanting to
yeah.
update that. So I think it, yeah, I mean, we're going into the summer, so I think we'd probably, maybe by fall, we'd wanna, early fall, have some sort of
Okay.
come back to the board.
Okay,
Um,
and just refresh my memory, how many are there roughly?
Well, I mean, if we look at all of them, you mean?
Is that, and that's what you're asking, right? To
Well,
just
I
take
think
a,
it was more of like identifying a subset of policies that we think,
our
are
needing
Are needing,
review.
so
Oh,
not necessarily
sure.
reviewing the entire list.
Okay.
But maybe picking 4 or 5, like,
Okay.
the senior
Yeah.
center, the banner, the abatement, maybe there's a couple more that we,
Yeah.
like, maybe like 3 or 4 different policies, rather than doing the whole comprehensive list.
Sure.
But maybe picking a handful that we think are most prominent.
Yes, I definitely can give that a look at, and I would discuss that with Joe or whomever else. Yeah, the older ones that just look like they might need a little
Yeah.
fine tuning. And I think that's a good point that you brought up about the water abatements, because in reality, I think if we have a policy, we're not firm about sticking to it. We treat each episode as if it's an unique set of facts, when the reality is, it's one set of facts, and we should make a decision ahead of time what we're going to do, and not sort of agonize about what the correct decision is. So, yeah, I definitely agree that should have some surety to it.
So is that Rosie is one member of a subcommittee? Is there another member
For what?
for?
So,
all of them?
No, I want a clarification before we keep going down this road. So is the concern that in dealing with the water abatement, that whoever's dealing with that is sending emails to the water department, asking questions about that, and that,
So that's what the policy starts with the water department. So that, when people look at their bill and they realize it's too high, that's when they notice that, they've got something going on, and they have to apply to the water department for an abatement. Up to a certain level, the board has given the Public Works Director the authority to allow up to a certain level, but if it's over a certain level, it comes to this body to be considered.
right. But I guess my question is that we were originally talking about having individual members of the select board actually focus on particular policies. And then it was decided, no, that wasn't the right way to go.
I don't think anybody's made a decision yet. I think you're talking through the
Right,
various
well,
things,
okay,
so.
but the idea was there was gonna be a smaller, 2 people that were gonna make a decision about what sort of policies were reviewed. I mean, I'm not at a point where I could select one of those policies and take it on, but would like the chance to review it, and would be interested in taking on a policy, but, so I'm just trying to understand what the advantages are of one.
So Tom had asked me for my opinion. I think it'd be easier for staff if we had 2 people to work with, to identify which ones we're gonna work on. And then if you wanted to break them up individually, that'd be easier. But be trying to work with 5 different people on different policies without knowing what timeline cadence when you want to adopt them are. So I think it'd be easier to manage the work
I
up front.
counted them up, there's 35 to 40.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty recently been amended or published for the first time. It seems like feeling out to consensus here, the stuff that's like 10, 15, or 20 years older, we're all feeling like maybe someone should take a look at those ones, and then I'm also gathering that maybe a reasonable goal for the short term might be that we try to unpack 5 or 6 of these, but not all 35 or 40.
yeah, I mean, in some of these, some of these are seem pretty standard that we wouldn't necessarily need to dig into. I think there's probably maybe, like you said, 4 or 5 maybe that we wanna grab. We already have 2 or 3 that we wanna look at. And I think a smaller committee of 2 people that, you know, does a review, brings it to the larger board for review would make sense. And to Joe's point, I think it makes it cleaner for his staff, rather than individually dealing with, you know, well, Rosie's got this policy, Ben's got this one.
And to sort of, I thought, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought that the premise at this point was to look through the policies and look at which ones are
Yeah.
fairly recent, and then just sort of say, okay, those can stand for a while, and then maybe look at the oldest policies, and those were the ones that we should really zero in on, and the sort of the nebulous policies, the using of the memorial room and the water abatement, and then the banner policy might be 3 that we're looking at definitely, only because those are sort of undefined in terms of what the boundaries are, and then look through all of them just generally for dates, and if they're very antiquated, then those are the ones that we would bring back, and then, as, that's what I understand, that we would then decide on the subcommittee to really delve into them, right? Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, I think that's a fair summary.
Okay.
So I think we have 3 that we're pretty much set on, the abatement, the senior center, and the banner.
Yep.
Are there any on here? I know we've talked previously about the flag policy. It seems like when we had our meeting about Juneteenth, that we may have resolved that there was language in there, but we had once talked about modifying that during that meeting, and then we sort of walked that back. But is that something that, people wanna open up again and look at? That's been one that we've, had conversations about.
Well, I think we didn't, at that meeting, I think my objection was we didn't really have a chance to review that policy. So I think if there are some amendments to be made, that certainly should be one. I mean, anything that's going to have an amendment, we should look at that as well and bring that forward as one of the policies in question.
Okay. Any other policies standing out to anyone?
Looking at the dates on these, cracked open the one about placement of structures on town property from 2001. There's not a lot in there, but it seems appropriate, like it's a short.
Basically what I followed to get ready to bring you the monument idea for the
Yeah.
last meeting. It was like
Yeah.
pretty, just come
That's what I was
before the
thinking in
select
my
board
head.
and
I
let
was
the
like,
select
that
board make
went
a
well.
decision. It's the
Right.
select board's decision. That's all that needs to really be in there. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to get too far into the details.
Yeah.
The board does have some leeway to make its own decisions, so.
Are there, I'm just, so you know, this is where I'm like trying to like rack my brain like back through last year's meetings of times where it's like, oh, should we have a policy? Cause I think it was like one of Tom's running jokes last year too. It's like, we need a policy. Do we need a policy
I
for
say
it?
that a lot. I'm trying to think too.
I just remember that we were joking about not which policies we might need now.
I mean, we can always just start with these 3. I mean, those are 3 big policies. I think that would probably take some time, you know, especially if we're looking, want to try to get these back in the fall time. I mean, I think that's a fair start, unless there are other ones that are really jumping out at anyone.
I think that's good for this, like trying to get through these in the next
Yeah,
3 or 4 months. Good point.
Yeah.
yeah.
So do we have another member that would want to join Rosie? I know, Ben, you were interested at one point, Lee as well. You mentioned, you know, maybe getting involved. Is there anyone that wants to join Rosie on a subcommittee?
Oh, there's a subcommittee to then decide
what-
which 4 or 5 we look at, is that what you mean, or just?
Well, I think we're just, I mean, are we agreeing on these 3 policies, right, that they need to be looked at? I think if we're agreeing on these 3 that we want to look at.
But we should also go through, just kind of browse through all of them, I think, and just as a sort of a general exercise, I think it's important to maybe look at them all based on their dates, and then we know we're gonna focus on these 3.
Yeah, I think we land on 3 definites, but you could certainly look through others, and if you identify any others that might need some updating.
Bring it back to the
but
next
I think
meeting.
for, at minimum, these 3 policies, and so we would want to, you know, have a 2-person committee look at these 3 policies, and then if there are others that they identify in the process, we can certainly look at those as well. But I think at minimum, we want to look at these 3.
And the expectation for the next meeting would be that the policies would be updated, that we'd be bringing an update to those policies? Just a discussion.
Just looked at which ones might we want to focus more
Highlights
closely.
and
Yeah,
comments.
maybe come back, and we'll come back and say, okay, in addition to those 3, we found 2 additional policies.
And then here's some highlights and comments about the existing policies, some things for consideration.
Okay.
And then that way, we're not, and then maybe some deliberation about whether or not we wanna have hearings or meetings about them or things of that nature. Does that work, Joe?
Yeah.
In terms of like open subcommittees or?
Do we have public meetings, specific, like open hearings on policies?
You don't have any specific standing subcommittees, so there, we haven't ever done that kind of work, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to establish, some subcommittee work, you'd want to think about how to make sure that you're communicating that you're working, the public knows that you're working on it.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Or-
absolutely.
The way it's written for the policy procedures, it says we can have hearings or meetings that we deem necessary for discussion.
Right,
So we can kind of-
exactly, yeah.
Decide along the way, because this isn't gonna be I don't think it necessarily needs to be a standing subcommittee either, so I think depending on the extent of the changes.
Right.
Alright, I mean, as you can see, I'm kind of leaning in a little bit, but I also don't wanna exclude anybody from being involved, so I'm happy
No,
to.
go for it, I think on this one, and then I'll.
Yeah, we'll do
See
one
how it
round, cause
goes.
we'll
Yeah,
probably
we'll try
find-
this one round, we're doing
Yeah.
3 or
Okay.
4, then we'll jump in with some other ones as
Sounds
well.
good.
And I
Okay.
mean, there's a
That
whole
sounds
bunch
good.
on there that probably are quite old, so we can start with 3.
Okay.
Maybe you add another 1 or 2 if you find something, but I think we'll start small. And if you wanna come back next meeting, report which, if any other policies you've identified you wanna look at, and then, you can work with Joe's office and town
Yeah.
council to work on at least those 3.
Okay.
Happy to help out.
Yeah, I would say that it might take a little bit longer than to the next meeting to get through all of them. But if we're thinking it would be June 15th, then that would give us a month.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit of a more reasonable timeline to sort of make that first
Okay,
pass.
so we'll plan for June 15th regardless of whether,
Okay.
which
Okay.
may be the next meeting or may not be.
Okay.
Okay. So that is it for our
Water,
prepared.
banner, what was the other 2?
The banner
15th.
policy, the abatement policy, and then the use of town hall and COA memorial room for public use. And then we'll just browse through the older policies
Alright,
and look and see, just quickly sort of do the 10,000-foot view. Does this look like it needs to be updated somewhat?
water, banners, and the use of town properties thing, okay.
Great, cool.
I have
Thank
a
you
few
both.
questions before, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I just want to make sure we didn't try to wrap up before I answered some questions. Yes, thank you guys for taking that on. Okay, my first question is about discussion in response to public inquiry, like Robin getting up and saying something. What, is there,
For any other, like for new business? Like, is this like?
On the public comment, it's under the, I think you're asking regarding during public comment, the no response back, kind of what,
So, I'm just sorry, I'm just like making sure I'm not at the right place in the agenda. Are we in new business now? Is that-
Yeah, I mean, we just wrapped up the poll, so we can move to new business and address questions.
Yeah, yeah,
thank you.
So are you,
I thought you were getting ready to adjourn.
No, no, no.
No, we'll go to new business and we can bring up, points for future agendas or questions, but it says your question, whether we respond to public comment or not, and engage in dialogue?
Yes, or what the general policy is that you guys have been following.
Yeah, so we recently changed this, and there was a point in our history where there was a lot of interaction going on. But recently, changes to our public comment policy, we simply, allot them their 3 minutes to speak, and then we don't provide feedback or questions.
Okay. Do they ever get a response to that, to their inquiry? or not?
So generally, if the board feels that something that was raised during public comment needs their attention further, they'll have it placed on a future agenda. There've been several times where at the end of new business, Bill or Rosie will say, hey, we heard this during public comment, let's have that on the next agenda. Or things can get referred to staff, myself, and the other department heads to respond back.
Yeah.
You know,
Or it comes up in new business, or, or future.
Yeah, or you could bring it up in
agenda
your
items,
agenda setting with the chair, and, you know, this came up at public comment, can we talk about this? That's another.
Okay,
So
okay.
there are ways that we could, you know, if there's interest from a board member to bring it up.
Okay, so if we were interested in pursuing the idea of moving some benches to Patton Park?
I'd suggest first, everybody take a look at the Patton Park Master Plan, because it calls out for more benches and more shade trees and walking trails and all sorts of things that we want to do there. The Eagle Scout project was specifically asked and provided permission to construct the picnic tables for Cutler Park,
Okay.
and that was what the gift was intended for.
Okay,
We have the ability to add seating at Weaver Pond or other parts of the park if that's what the town wants. But, I mean, I think the board should really have a conversation if you're gonna ask us to move something that was intended for one place to another place.
okay.
That's up to you, but
No, I mean, I've read the
Yeah.
master plan, and I think
Yeah.
it's a great long-term thing, but, you know, there's sort of an immediate need, and I was just curious about whether there's an opportunity to address that, whether it's by moving those or by
Yeah.
coming up with some other structures there, because it is.
Good news, we have a little short policy written in 2001 that gives us discretion to do it.
Excellent. Would you bring that back? Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Thank you for clarification on that. And the other one is that we received an email from Leonard Rubin about several topics. And how do those get addressed as well?
So I did provide an answer, and the answer today, I explained that the select board has an upcoming goal setting and strategic planning workshop planned for the end of June, and that would probably be a good place for the select board to raise the issues that were raised in his, to discuss the issues that were raised in his email. Yeah. I will say that I will say that the things that were pointed out in the things that were pointed out in the email are things that towns have looked at over the years off and on several times. It's not that the ideas haven't been discussed before. They're a lot harder to do than people would want to think that they are.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of regionalization, particularly with Wenham, but with other towns, and tried to find ways to make sure that we're delivering services in as efficient a manner as possible. But there's a lot, and in one sense, his recommendation to look at Wenham is right, that will take a lot of time to get there. But I think that, was it 2008 or 2009, DOR's Division of Local Services had a report on what it would take to merge the towns of Hamilton and Wenham, and that report's been widely circulated to other towns at least 3 times since then, including once right after I got here. And in order to do those things, you have to have a willing partner. To this point, we have not,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I mean, if we're having a discussion about it as a new business agenda item, I think for those individuals, if they're listening or they really think it's a good idea, it's like, you know, probably getting a copy of that report again to look at, you know, what the benefits, you know, could potentially be, and then what does a coalition like of the public want to look like to kind of be really advocating for that to both boards. I feel like it's just one of these
It'd be both
things
boards,
where-
both FinComs, both town meetings. It would require,
Yeah.
it's gonna require broad-based support across
And
both
so-
communities.
And so that would not be something that would be driven by the select board necessarily, but actually by a citizen group,
Coalition
a
of-
coalition of
At
people.
this point, just based on the fact that it does get raised.
Yeah,
every
right. Well,
decade
and
or
I think
so,
that, I mean, I think that that's an easier, I mean, had I asked that question, I would have liked to have seen, you know, had like the report, and you know, it sounds like it's been distributed before, but I guess it just gives them somewhere to start with understanding what the challenges are.
Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, it comes up a lot. I'll be honest, a lot of people bring it up to me as a select board member. And I say, why don't we? You know what we should do? Hey, Ben, like,
There's
you know,
there's a
it's
lot of
kinda-
complications with it, and, yeah, I mean, it's been brought up plenty of times in the past, and.
So I think it's always worthy of the idea, you know, look at us wringing our hands around, like, kinda like like struggling with our budgets and limits and trying to live within our means, et cetera. It's a very worthy idea. I think the challenges of implementation, my personal, not to speak for the board, but my personal opinion would be for them to build a coalition between both towns at kind of the individual level and the community level, and bubble it up, because I think otherwise we're just, pushing a rope. So.
Okay. And I can find that report.
Hey, I'll find it and circulate it out to you again.
Okay, thank you.
Any other items, new business, questions?
I have one other. What would be the hurdles to reducing the conscom from 7 to 5? Or what would be the process to accomplish that? My understanding is that it's just, that it's a decision that we have.
I'll have to look at it. I'm not,
Bylaws?
if it's in the bylaws, then it would need to be amended through town meeting. But I don't know that if it's in the bylaws due to requirements at state level too. Some boards and committees, for instance, the CPC, there are requirements when you adopt the law on how many people are on that committee and how the seats get filled. So I don't know if there's a requirement under the state's conservation laws that requires how large a conservation commission is. So I'll have to check into how that was formed to help you understand how to change it.
Okay, well, I can look in the bylaws for sure and get an idea whether that's something, I mean, been perpetually 5 people on that board and 2 vacancies. And I'm not sure it's something that requires 7 people to accomplish. So.
I'm not sure that, other than maybe the first year I got here, that there's ever been 7 in my tenure here.
Okay. I'll look. Thanks.
I think we had 6 at one point when I was on there. Many years ago.
I feel like that's a high
For a
one.
while, there were
Close.
7 odd, and each individual seems to have their own strength in terms of contributing to the commission.
I got appointed to the Concom. I got interviewed by the Concom. I had to show up and sit
Yeah.
down in a whole interview.
Yeah,
it
they
was
want to
a-
know what your deal is, right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I was just, I was on it, with only 5 people, that there was a constant challenge of actually reaching quorum and
Yeah,
et cetera.
there's a lot of
So, I
over-
mean,
yeah,
it's-
a lot
and
of
that
turnover
was
there.
a real struggle, well, especially with the deadlines that you have of turnaround. If you can't
Yeah.
reach a quorum, you have to postpone people another couple of weeks in there and wanting to accomplish their project, so. Okay, thank you. I think I'm done.
Joe, I was hoping for an update from you around our this new sort of part-time position around communications and as related to sort of like.
Yeah, so I'm struggling right now with should we go to a permanent part-time position. We have most of the job description drafted. We also have the beginnings of a solicitation for quotes for the potential of hiring a consultant. And there's pros and cons to both. I think I'm leaning towards the position because it gives the town more control over the workflow, not just the product. Like, if I hire a consultant, I have control over the product because we contract for that, but we don't necessarily have as much input into into how we get to that work product. So I think I'm leaning towards the employee. And so we should be advertising that in the next week or 2, and with the goal of hiring in time to start July 1st.
And so there's a hired consultant, is that the same as like kind of having a contractor who's doing the work?
Yeah.
And in both cases, would this individual reports directly to you? Or,
Yes,
yeah,
Okay.
but, most people understand that I'm not like a one-person, I usually have my team heavily involved with everything we do and get input from the other department heads. I think that there'd be a real need to have this person become part of the leadership team, even though they're only part-time, the interaction with the other department heads that need the service, that need to help us embed communications into our day-to-day operations. And so,
How many, if they're, it's like kind of like in the contracting world, you're sort of like, you know, you're paying on like for almost like sort of like tasks delivered, almost kind of T&M.
Yeah.
Really, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I've got this thing this little thing I want you to do over the next like 2 to 3 weeks. You kind of package it up and they execute it, right? Which is, you know, good if work kind of ebbs and flows, right?
Right.
Especially if you have an established ecosystem of these tools. With the part-time, though, I'm kind of wondering, like, you know, does that then just sort of like baseline to a number of hours a week that we're trying to fill them up with work? And I know we've got the big website project that's underway. There's gonna be a lot of interface points with that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
in terms of, how we get information out to people, but I guess, can you maybe give us a little nuance there between what it means to have a part-time person versus a contract person?
So it helps for us, because if I have a part-time person, I'll, you know, let's say that their hours will be set. We'll know what days of the week and how many hours on those days they'll be here. And that gives the department heads an opportunity to look at their calendar and say, okay, on this day I can plug in an hour so that I can make sure to connect with so-and-so, so that I can understand what it is we're trying to do, and they can get educated and they can bring it to their full teams. If it's a consultant, any consultant has the ability to develop their own workflow. All I can do is contract for the product that we're gonna get at the end. And, you know, and that it would include like, oh, you know, I want you to have X number of meetings, but they set when the meetings are. So I think gone back and forth, and I've talked to a few folks, both in different towns, and then some folks here in Hamilton who might be interested in the position. Got some really good feedback, and I've been wrestling with it, but I think I'm leaning towards the part-time position. And that really wasn't a foregone conclusion, because my thought was that we have it in the FY27 budget because the voters approved it, but if in 2 or 3 years you have another budget crisis and something's gonna go on the chopping block, I hate adding position that might eventually get taken away. But then again, if we can take advantage of a person on staff for 2 or 3 years that can teach our staff, teach the rest of our staff how to work and incorporate communications and the way to think about communications in their daily lives, it'll make it easier for everybody. So you may not need that resource forever. So.
I mean, I think there really are, like, I'll say that I think there's, the pros on each side of this can be almost sometimes like, unique and beneficial in their own way.
Right, I agree.
And the benefits of, you know, having a contract person where you're paying them for the outcome is if they don't deliver on the outcome, you know, the water hasn't gone out over the dam, right?
That's true.
It's sort of like, no, I'm not paying for that because he didn't deliver,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, this is the outcome I'm paying for. And it's kind of, especially if you're doing it sort of if you're breaking up that budget and giving them, all right, I'm gonna give you, you know, $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 or whatever it is to complete this task. It's on them to deliver, you know.
But with a contractor, I also lose the ability to pick somebody we like because it's a price-driven formula. So I put out a request for services, you know, a solicitation for quotes for these services. I want these services provided with this product at the outcome. I get the quotes back. I have to award it to the lowest bidder that's qualified for the work, as opposed to saying, I want to give it to, I like this company, I'd rather work with them. So you put yourself in a pickle. I briefly considered doing both. I briefly considered doing both to see what I got and then go with the one that benefited us the most. But
I mean, you know, and I don't know all the legality of it or whether this is an option or not, but it's like saying, like having you know what the upset's gonna be based on what's in the budget, right?
Yeah.
It's probably not a big secret. So, but at the same time, being able to then say, like, almost kind of like developing a pool of potential contractors, right? That's just like, hey, I need this thing done by the end of next week, and you have a group of people who are available, as opposed to it needing to be always like the like kind of lowest bidder approach. Like for small discrete tasks that might be like $1,000,
So I think that's a possibility for future, but I don't think that our ability to communicate effectively is there yet.
Okay.
I think that we need to embed some certain, protocols and policies and just a way of thinking about how we report out about the work we do before we can get there. And we need to make it uniform too, to make it easier for people to consume the information. We have 3 or 4 different people putting out information on 3 or 4 different Facebook sites or Instagram sites, and if everybody puts out a message in a different way, then there's a certain amount of noise that the reader has to sift through to get to understand what your point is. So I want to have somebody that helps us streamline what our posts look like, help us streamline and kind of brand the way we put messages on our website and use the signboard, so that when people look at a post, they know right away before they even read that, oh, this is a post about weekly trash collection. So now I can just focus on the information. I don't have to try to figure out what it is they're trying to tell me. And we don't do that right now. So we need to do that better.
Yeah, I think, and I know it's your decision, that's what we gave you the funding for. I just wanna voice my concern of like the importance then of really getting, just a highly qualified person.
Yep.
Who has, this very kind of flexible mindset, who can really work with a broad variety of skill sets that they'll be bumping into inside of the administrative kind of like ecosystem, and that they'll need to do a lot of that lift,
Yeah.
because this kind of work is not intuitive to most people, right? Like, so.
Municipal work, yes.
Well,
I understand, yes.
Even in like the corporate world, let's be honest, right? Everywhere we go, people are, I'm a great communicator, and it's like, but when it comes to this type, it is very much a learned skill, and I don't think that it's always intuitive, and so I just want to emphasize then the importance of getting that extremely collaborative, very flexible, very patient, and extremely qualified from a technical basis.
Yep, I appreciate that, yes.
I know it's a lot to ask for, but making it a full-time position, or not full-time, but part-time, like committed to an individual, makes it just that much more important.
Yes, I agree. So, there's always a chance, just because I advertise for position, if I don't get a pool of candidates that I like, you can
Okay.
always switch tactics.
Right.
So that remains a possibility too.
Okay. Thanks for the update.
No problem.
and Discussion.
Can I provide a quick update? Just make sure everybody knows that the Legion is having their annual Memorial Day breakfast on the Sunday, May 24th at 8 a.m. And as always, the select board and your guests are invited to attend. Leland McDonough, on behalf of the Legion, does ask that we let him know how many people might be coming. So if you could all let me know if you plan to attend on Sunday, I can let Leland know how many to expect, because they prepare food and they don't want to waste food, so.
Do you know when he needs to know by?
Well, it's already less than a week away, so if you could let me know by Wednesday or Thursday morning.
Yeah.
That would be-
Is that just breakfast, or is that walking in the parade?
Though you don't have to tell them that you're walking the parade, you can just show up and walk in the parade. The breakfast is at 8 a.m., the walking the parade's at 10, I believe.
I went to the breakfast last year. It was great.
I didn't get there last year,
But
it is nice, it's a nice.
I might be in Maine up until Sunday evening, so I might miss the breakfast this year. But Sunday evening, so
I'll go.
yeah, it's good.
Is that
4 of us.
for you? All right.
I'll note, I'll know by tomorrow.
Joe, I can count me in.
Okay. Solo, Rosie?
Great.
Not sure yet.
Okay. Okay.
I have a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.